Hi, this is Sean with Sean Miller Construction, and today I wanted to talk to you about anchor bolt spacing and placement. So there's different ways to do this. What a lot of contractors do when they're setting their anchor bolts. Well, let's start by saying in California we have earthquakes. It's a very volatile seismic area, so all the houses need to be fastened to the foundation really well. So in order to do that, we have galvanized anchor bolts that have to go with specific spacing depending on the height of the walls and the size of the building, and there's a lot of factors in there with engineering. So today I'm just going to talk about how I set these. We have some video that we shot previously, so we're a little bit past that, but I wanted to just kind of go back and talk about how we actually get these in. What a lot of contractors do is when the concrete's being poured in around the foundation, they'll come in and sort of stab those anchor bolts in to the wet concrete as the concrete's setting up. It's not a very accurate and clean way to do it as far as I'm concerned. So what I like to do, what we did here, and you'll see it in an earlier video, I'll take 2x4s on this. This is a conventional foundation, a stem wall foundation, and which means we don't have a slab on grade. The floor is wood framing, so we just have these block walls. This is very typical throughout most of the country on how people build houses. But in California, we have to make sure everything's very anchored down. So what I'll do before any of this is here, and you have the hollow block, before the concrete's being poured, I'll come in and I'll put a 2x4 on either side of the block like this. I'll just throw like one Tapcon in there just to hold it so it doesn't slide and move your anchor bolts when you're pouring concrete. So 2x4 on both sides of the block, and then everywhere I have an anchor bolt, what I'll do is I'll put a small piece of 2x4 across, just for the only purpose to hold these bolts in place while we're pouring concrete. And I try to do layout so that I'm missing joists and obviously missing other framing and posts and whatnot. So it just gives you, with this 2x4, it gives you an opportunity to really lay out everything. In this house we had quite a bit of structural posts that are going all over the building, and so it's real important that we, for the door and window openings, that we get those posts laid out exactly, because a lot of the doors and windows go exactly between those posts. So you can see here we have the strong wall coming in with these 1 1/8 all thread bolts that go all the way down to the bottom of the foundation, which we've covered on an earlier video. And we're bringing the solid blocking all the way up so that when we set those strong walls down onto the floor, the load is transferred onto the wall through this engineered block, which we drilled holes in to set it over the bolts. And so we will do the same thing with some post bases. We have a lot of post bases coming in here, steel hardware that anchors the post to the foundation as well. So we have this block here, and you can't see it, but there's a bolt in here that goes also down into the foundation with a big SDS bolt on it tied to the rebar inside the wall, and that's going to come all the way up and catch a post base right here, and this block will transfer that load, and there'll be some beams sitting on top of that post carrying the second floor and the roof framing and all that. So you can see here we have all the anchor bolts. We're doing 32-inch spacing, and also when you have a hold down or a bolt, your first anchor bolt needs to be within 12 inches of that hold down or post base. So I'm going to walk you guys around and we'll look at some hold down locations and some post base locations, how I did layout. But this trick here is something that really is helpful instead of, a lot of guys try to do all their marking on the concrete block and sort of stab those bolts in, but I mean there's dozens of bolts in here, and the chances you're going to get that wrong are pretty, actually going to happen. So this way I have a very exact layout on all the anchor bolts and all the post bases and the hold downs. The reason I really want to get this layout as accurate as possible, like I said before, we have windows and doors coming in here, and if you have a bolt coming up in your window or door opening, basically you're cutting that off, and then we have to drill holes and epoxy in new anchors, and that requires special inspection here, which is awesome. So yeah, a little trick. A lot of guys don't do it, but I find that it makes a real clean and accurate way of laying out all my anchor bolts. So I'll walk you through, we'll show you a little bit of the bolt situation. But before we do that, I want to go and this is pretty standard subfloor framing detail. Pressure treated plate. Calls for 2x6, but we put a 2x8 plate in there so it spans the whole block wall. And we put a 12-inch LVL rim joist here. It's an engineered lumber that's made specifically for rim joists. And then we'll be putting some TJI I-joists in here for the floor framing. Alright, so here we are in another part of the house. Just going to show you something real quick. We got I-joists coming in here, and this whole floor will be joists out in probably an hour or less. We'll do that Monday morning. Here you have a block, because we have a hold down and a post coming in here. So if you see these big bolts, these are for pretty large hold downs, because we have 11-foot ceilings in the house, 2-story house. It's really tall with a lot of glass, so the seismic loads are very concentrated into small areas, which is why we have strong walls all over the house, because there's a lot of glass and high ceilings. So this will be a section of strong wall, or shear wall, excuse me, from block to block. So we'll have posts going up right there, and that'll carry all the way through the second floor. Yeah, so that's where your custom homes get really more expensive in the construction, in the shell, because the more glass you have, bigger openings, more beams, more hold downs, more strong walls, and so more engineering. But it makes for a really cool house. So this house is going to be one of the nicest in the neighborhood. I want to just point out how many strong walls we have in here. I mean, we won't get to all of them, but there's quite a few, which is a little unusual. Not for a custom house, but this house has quite a bit of them. So here we have a strong wall location. There's one there in the corner, one here, one back in that corner, one in that corner, here, there. So I think there's about 18 of them in this house, which is a little unusual, but yeah, it's just because there's a lot of glass in this house. I think our door and window package was $112,000. A lot of glass. We have a 180-degree view of the ocean here, so definitely want to capture that. I think there's 2,000 square feet of exterior balcony on the second floor and first floor. So yeah, that's really a great design in an attempt to capture all the views and lots of big open spaces. So we'll come back when we get some framing done here.